Shane, have you heard of Atlantis?
The TV show or the place?
Have you heard of Atlantis, the place, the sunken city?
Yes. The legend of Atlantis.
The legend of Atlantis. Plato talked about it, right?
Oh yeah, the Richot structure in Africa and all that stuff. Yeah, I've heard it.
Yeah.
I lived in Italy. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so did you know that there was a metal that was, or an alloy, I should say, metal alloy, whatever, specific to Atlantis called orichalcum.
I actually did not know that.
And see, I didn't either.
That was interesting.
Look, we know Jimmy. We've watched all the Atlantis things.
Bright Insight stuff.
Yeah, we've seen all the Bright Insights. We've seen all the ancient aliens and all the History Channel stuff about Atlantis. We are fascinated with this. I remember reading a book when I was a kid called Indiana Jones and the Lost City of Atlantis, and thinking this would be the coolest possible movie ever made. And then they went and made Dial of Destiny and ruined my childhood. But look, after all the stuff I've heard about Atlantis, all the stuff Jimmy has said, Bright Insight, History Channel, every YouTube video, Joe Rogan, everyone that's ever talked about this, I have never heard of this. Orichalcum. I'm probably not saying that right. I should probably hit this pronunciation thing.
You know, you sent me a link to that, but I don't know. It's not. Did you delete it?
No. I'll give you a link again. I'm going to pronounce this. I'm not saying it right. Here we go. No.
Orichalcum.
Orichalcum.
Okay.
Okay, it's called orichalcum. Yeah, I'll send you a link right now. And it's funny because this article is actually old. It's not. I mean, it's not. So it's like 3 or 4 years old. But I didn't hear about it until literally yesterday. And this orichalcum is they say it's the lost metal of Atlantis, and they finally may have found a healthy amount of this stuff in a shipwreck off of Sicily.
The problem is I don't think they know for certain that it's the orichalcum that they talked about. Like, it's definitely a metal alloy that they haven't seen before.
Right. Yes, it's an alloy so these were ignants. An ignant is when, it's being cast. So they create the alloy and they create these ignants, like gold bars, whatever. It's pieces of metal that were specifically cast for use in making things, right?
Yeah, it's a cast metal like bronze.
Right.
So it takes multiple different types of metals to create.
Right. So this orichalcum, this is what the article says. Orichalcum, the lost metal of Atlantis, may have been found in a shipwreck off of Sicily. A group of naval archaeologists has uncovered 200 ignants, which is a lot, spread over the sandy seafloor near a 2,600-year-old shipwreck. Timing sort of works out, off the coast of Sicily. The ignants were made of orichalcum, a rare cast metal that the ancient Greek philosopher Plato wrote was from the legendary city of Atlantis.
You know what's weird is I was stationed there and in the waters off the coast of Sicily a lot, so I'm sure we sailed over that.
I know this is why this article is perfect. I'm like, I know, I really wanted to get your take on this too. Let me add this last piece, then I want to hear what you think about this. A total of 39 ignants, metal set in rectangular blocks, were, according to Inquisitor, discovered near a shipwreck. BBC reported that another same metal cache was found. 47 ignants were found, with a total of 86 metal pieces found to date. The wreck was discovered in 1988, floating about 300 meters, 1,000 feet off the coast. So they've now found 2 caches of this very specific metal that Plato mentioned, and it's all been off the coast of Sicily. So think about this real quick. Scientists believe that the pieces of orichalcum were destined for those laboratories when the ship sank. So, so Plato talked about orichalcum. How do we know that this orichalcum and the orichalcum that Plato was talking about is the same alloy?
Well, that's what's interesting about it. So I don't think that they know that it's the same thing. And I don't even think that they know that it's necessarily orichalcum in the sense that he was talking about it. Because orichalcum used to be known in Greece. In Greek, it was actually a name for platinum, which is something that, of course, we know well.
Right.
And it's basically a high quality brass. It's an alloy of copper and zinc kind of mixed together.
Right.
But I guess this alloy is pretty unique, the one that they found.
Yeah, like apparently it's 75 or 80% copper, 20% zinc, and a scattering of nickel, lead, and iron, which had made me think maybe that scattering is just offcast. Like, you know, it's not actually part of the alloy.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to say. I was actually looking for. So Plato wrote about orichalcum in his book Critias. In the book, Plato says orichalcum was in the ground of the legendary island of Atlantis. Okay, to the Atlanteans, it was the second most valuable metal after gold. Plato says the Atlanteans put orichalcum on their city walls and temples. Plato called orichalcum only a name. In his own time, meaning he did not think he had ever seen orichalcum. So that's interesting, actually, because if it was in the ground, then it would be a completely different metal. So, or what they're talking about is two metals that have been mixed together by human beings.
Right.
So he's talking about it as being something that in the ground of the legendary island of Atlantis, which leads me to believe that sounds very.
Maybe he's talking about copper, because it says. The name orichalcum derives from the Greek word orichalcos, or whatever, literally meaning mountain copper or copper mountain.
Yeah, so maybe copper. But what's interesting is of course, there's been lots of places that Atlantis could have been. If Atlantis existed, there's lots of places around the world where they think it could. Most likely, from the sources that I've, Randall Carlson and some of these other folks, it actually would have taken place right outside the pillars of Atlas, basically where the Portugal, right off the coast of Portugal, is where Atlantis would be. So they would have been sailing into and around the Mediterranean, including Sicily, which
adds up. So like they could have been sailing to the port of Atlantis when it sank or whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people believe that if Atlantis was real, that the descendants of Egypt actually came from Atlantis.
Fascinating.
So it's interesting. I mean, there's so much stuff into it.
Considering the high amounts of copper in this alloy, another thing that interests me is Plato said, it was the second most valuable metal after gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which actually makes a lot of sense if you're living in a highly technological age. What is more conductive, gold than copper? Right?
Copper is,
yeah. Silver wouldn't be like we see silver as valuable, but in reality, silver doesn't actually have a whole lot of practical uses. Gold and copper are extremely conductive and highly resistant. Especially gold. So like when it comes to like technology running, current through something, I can totally see this as being the second most valuable metal if practical use was the reason it would be valuable.
If we're talking about copper.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, but these ingots do have copper and zinc.
Right. It's brass. They're essentially brass.
Right. And, brass. So zinc is used to stabilize copper so that it becomes less, more resilient to corrosion. So I don't know.
So it's possible that in the time of the Greeks that they didn't actually know metallic zinc, but perhaps the Atlanteans did. So that makes it interesting.
Right. Imagine that though. Imagine like, okay, so copper is, it corrodes easy. You add a little zinc to it and it becomes less corrosive.
Well said.
I mean, that would be a sign of being more technologically advanced than your surroundings. Just knowing that that particular, alloy makes a better copper that is still just as conductive.
Yeah. Proof that there's an Atlantis? That it was true? No.
No.
But very interesting.
Hey, if you like this clip and you want to see more, then click right here and become a member today. Also, we do a live show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, totally free. So come on down and hang out with us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you there.